Living with a chronic illness is difficult and unpredictable. Mental health challenges are extremely prevalent for those of us who have autoimmune conditions or other things that we have to deal with on an everyday basis. And yet, through it all, somehow, I managed to remain optimistic. I'm Dr. Becky Sage, I have axial spondyloarthritis and I'm a late diagnosed autistic person. I'm also an ambitious person who values my career and my independence. And I really want to be able to continue to make an impact in the world despite the challenges that I face. And the thing we're talking about today is actually one of the hardest things to hold on to. Right now, I am physically struggling a lot. Funnily enough, I don't actually know if my autoimmune condition is the cause of what is going on at the moment. I have something called thoracic outlet syndrome, which could be being caused by some inflammation or other side effects of having an autoimmune condition that affects my spine, but we haven't actually got to the bottom of it yet. However, dealing with this just brings up the question again of why can't I go more than a couple of weeks without something coming along and derailing me. Just when I think that I've got good routines going, it is scuppered by pain, by fatigue, and by an ongoing need to put my health above everything else. So of course this affects both my working life, but also I'm a gymnast and it affects my ability to go and do the thing that makes me feel really good physically. Right now I've been out of gymnastics for the last 3 weeks. And I have continued with my work, as in I've continued with the commitments that I already have, but that has also involved me then having to sleep for days and days at a time. And it hasn't really left any additional time for any kind of expansion. Now, I understand that we have ebbs and flows in our life. Sometimes in our life is not for expansion. It is about healing. It is about slowing down. It is about nurture. But if you're suffering from something similar to me, then I'm sure you are extremely frustrated by how often you have to slow down and how often that expansion just stalls because you're getting ill again. Being an autistic person impacts this as well. It does mean that I can be quite sensitive, physically sensitive to things. I'm not great at being able to articulate how I'm feeling all of the time. And I'm very, very used to, over the last 40 years, pushing and pushing and pushing until I break. So I'm kind of have this weird thing where I'm like ultra sensitive, but also at the same time don't really notice things until we've gone past the point of no return. In addition, being autistic, losing my routine really heavily impacts me. And yet, I haven't really been able to build a routine in my career at this point of time in my life because I continually feel like I'm just starting from scratch again all the time. I'm building new routines, but then they go out of the window because I'm not well. So all of these things mean it can be incredibly hard to stay hopeful, to stay optimistic. And I've had to do a lot of work on my mindset in order to be able to just keep going. So here are some of the things that I've done to remain optimistic even through chronic illness that feels debilitating, that feels painful. I have constructed a portfolio career, which means that my day-to-day commitments are not something that fills up the whole week. So if I am in a flare-up, I am able to have some of that rest time. So I fulfill the commitments that I have, and then I crash. Now this in some ways very much goes against all of the advice I've ever been given by the rheumatology hospital, which I don't advise anyone to go against that advice, but I think it's just the reality of life. We have to pay our bills. It's as simple as that. So whilst I've always been told, like, can you make it more steady? Take lots of rest throughout the day and then you might be able to continue to keep going a little bit longer. Always stop at 80%. Well, First of all, I do already take breaks throughout the day, and when you're in flare-up, that does not feel like enough. And secondly, 80% on one hand doesn't feel like enough work, and yet on the other hand still feels like too much. I still crash when I do that. So the way I see it is, well, let's be fully present, go all out when I need to go all out, and then stop. That applies to work, which is not necessarily physically demanding, does not apply to gymnastics. If I'm in a flare-up, I just have to take a rest and then just try to do other forms of exercise when I'm able to move around that are a lot more gentle. But yeah, so I try to continue to fulfill commitments. The next thing, which over the years I've found incredibly difficult because I don't really like people's responses to it, but I've noticed something slightly different this time. So the next thing is to actually ask for help. Now, this includes really strong advocacy for yourself. Is advocation a word? Advocating for yourself with the medical professionals. I hate to say it, but you have to really highlight those things. And to me, somebody who's used to minimizing that pain and being like, no, everything's fine. When you go to the doctor, you've kind of got to do the opposite to that and be like brutally honest about, actually, no, this isn't okay. This pain is really quite severe. This pain is stopping me from doing things. But also asking for help from other people in other ways. So, for example, the very British thing of being like, how are you today? And you want to go, yeah, I'm fine. I still do that. But there are some people in my life where I actually then say, no, I'm not okay, actually. I'm struggling. And I'm struggling not just because I'm dealing with the pain. I'm struggling because I need to live my life, because I still do have goals. I still do have things that I want to do. I still want to make an impact in the world. So even small things, like I still want to live in a house that doesn't have clothes all over the floor because I can't pick them up because I don't have the energy to do it. So just being able to actually express how you're feeling, and this has helped me in a couple of ways. There's somebody I work with who actually, like, honestly, this blew me away how kind this was. When I told them that I was struggling with this, they didn't give me the answer of like, oh, well, then you should just go home, you're not okay, blah, blah, blah. I think they know who I am. They know I want to show up, and they know I'd committed to do something for them actually on that day. And I really wanted to be there. I really wanted to do it. And I'm so glad I did do it. But they came to me and said, do you know what, if you can't get a scan on the NHS, or it's taking too long to get the scan that you need to know what's going on, then I'm happy to help you to get that scan privately. Financially, I'm happy to help you. And that was so touching, and it's not something I probably would feel comfortable taking somebody up on, but it was still like, oh, I don't know, it was just a bit of an eye-opener for me that people do care. If they can, people want to help, and that we actually do need to accept the help if we want to be more healthy. And I know that one of the biggest challenges with a chronic condition is it's not that simple in terms of getting the help that you need. Our bodies are extremely erratic. Related to that actually, which is not something that I really experience anymore, but I know when you're in the early stages of having a chronic condition, and maybe you're even undiagnosed, you may feel like nobody believes you. Nothing's coming up on the blood tests, or you're getting a scan, and it's like, and you can see things. You can see that your fingers are swollen, that your body is heavy, and that you're fatigued, and that you've got pain, but nothing's coming up, and it can really feels like you're not being believed. And it's very easy to gaslight yourself then as well, in terms of like, well, maybe I am okay, maybe this is normal, if you felt normal, you would be feeling normal. Like, you wouldn't be feeling pain, you wouldn't be feeling this heaviness. And of course it's normal to feel tired at the end of a long day, or it's normal to have aches and pains every now and again. But when it's this kind of consistent thing that keeps coming up for you, then you should be believed, and that really starts with taking it seriously for yourself. So that I definitely now have taken it seriously, but it did take me getting like a positive genetic test and getting some positive diagnoses to then take myself seriously. So I just hope that even if you're at the beginning of this and you're figuring out, take these things seriously, even if it's not about like specifically what that diagnosis is. If you're feeling certain things, then they do matter. In terms of asking for help, one of the things I really struggle with this, and one of the things that can make me feel quite depressed, is the continued benevolent oppression. And this is a really hard balance to walk, because of course what we want is for people to like nurture us and look after us and to be like, no, you should stop because you're really struggling right now. But at the same time, I need people to understand the impact that has on my mental health, and I need people to know that sometimes it's better to show up and do the work and be able to like fulfill myself in other ways, even if that is struggling through pain a little bit. One of the things I find the hardest is when people just say, no, just don't do it, just rest, just like I work for myself. If I just rest, I don't get paid. And yet there's nobody saying, or rather people are saying this now, but finding that nuance, and the right people are going to find the nuance of like, no, you do need to take a bit of a break, but let's break down your diary this week. Where can you go and do that work and do the things that need to be done? And then where can you pull back and say no and take that rest? Another thing that I know I'm very poor at doing, but it has been pretty helpful in keeping me optimistic through the past few weeks, is really a product of going to therapy. And it's to feel the feelings. I'm somebody who can live in my head a lot, and I sometimes say like there's a channel that goes from here to here, and then I have a lot of feeling going on down here, but there's no channel to release these feelings. And so what happens is I end up becoming just very numb to all of these feelings, especially if I'm already in pain, especially if I'm taking certain painkillers as well. It's very easy to feel very numb. But it is difficult to be in pain all the time. It is difficult to not be able to show up, to not be able to do your routines and make your plans and stick to your plans. And it's really hard, continually feeling like you're having to say, oh, sorry, I can't do that, I'm not well enough. And so there's been a couple of times when I've just found myself this time around being like, no, I am kind of sad about that. And I do want to cry about that. And I am going to let it out. And I think that that's become quite healing, to let out some of those feelings. And there's a frustration, there's an anger. So really letting that out then helps me to be more optimistic the rest of the time. Because feelings aren't bad, and feelings that are relevant to the situation, like that, actually by noticing them, by feeling them, by allowing them to come out, you then can move on from them. And they're not taking up even more energy that you don't have. One of the things with being not very well and needing to rest a lot is you should totally indulge in guilty pleasures without the guilt. So this is a time when you can watch that Netflix queue where you can have a bath with some bath bubbles and bath salts and read in the bath, and if you can, that's just those moments. And I think that I've found myself again feeling those feelings, feel those feelings of indulgence, even if you're like, this doesn't really feel that indulgent because I'm feeling in pain and I've got some underriding stress around life and health and work, but I can be in that moment and indulge in that. I've been doing weird things at the moment, like watching makeup videos on YouTube, which I don't normally do. And that's kind of strange because I'm not really wearing any makeup at the moment. But it's finding these things that feel kind of pleasurable, or whatever they might be for you. Food. I've just been eating the things I feel like I can eat. And of course, I'm a little bit mindful of like, am I eating enough green things? Because I need them to be healthy. But otherwise, I'm just like, if I can stomach something, then that's the thing I'm going to eat. And all of these little things just help with the lightness, and they help with getting through the day, and they help with feeling good still about myself and about life in general. And then the final thing I want to say is that I've also been still taking small steps towards some of those bigger goals. So, and I have had to do things like a little bit at a time, but showing up here would be an example of that. I've really been struggling with being at the computer at all. I've been getting really bad headaches. I've been getting so much pain through my neck and my back. And so I was kind of struggling with the idea, alongside the other work I already am committed to, of editing and doing a lot of research. But I thought, actually, I can still sit down here and talk at the camera, especially in a chair that's nice and supportive. So taking small steps, but with a very clear direction, can also help you to still feel like you're moving forward, to still feel like there's hope around achieving your goals, and whatever they may be. Like, that yours might not be work related, it might be something totally different. I'm gonna leave it there today. I hope that was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments if you are struggling. If this was helpful to you in any way, then I'd really like to understand how. And please do subscribe if you want to come back to more of finding your power even as you overcome different challenges. If you want more of this, I've got a whole bunch of videos that are already online related to being a Spoonie, having a chronic illness, autism, and the workplace, and just navigating life and career with these challenges. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.